Viewers, Republic has now accessed the charge sheet of Praveen Nettaru murder case. The charge sheet mentions service squads, kill squads that were used to assassinate Nettaru. The NIA also highlights the PFI planned, plotted, conspired to kill him, further exposing the role of killer PFI squads to assassinate prominent Hindu leaders. I want to go across to Prajwal, who's joining us from Bengaluru. Prajwal, we've seen the PFI carried out the murder for revenge, for retaliation for Masood's murder. The PFI planned to murder Hindu leaders. They hatched plan to murder. In 3 days, there were 4 targets. Give us the details in the charge sheet.
Rhythm, now looking at this entire charge sheet, it is clearly being pointed out by the NIA, stating that there is absolutely no connection between Masood's murder and Praveen Nettaru's murder here, because he was not known to any of the assailants, or Praveen Nettaru had absolutely no role to play in Masood's murder too. This has also been mentioned by the NIA charge sheet, as you were pointing out. But largely the focus remains on the PFI and the killer squads as well, because these killer squads, had gone on to be formed post December 12, 2016, when an RSS functionary, Rudresh, was murdered in Bengaluru, after which the PFI functionary did not want to depend on the central command, and they mainly wanted to make sure that this entire chain of command is basically decentralized, and therefore these squads were formed in by the PFI, and after instruction from the PFI State Working Committee in Karnataka, they went on to assassinate Praveen Nettaru. The key accused in this particular case, Mustafa Paiser, had gone on to create units across the entire district of Dakshina Kannada. To be precise, 40 units of these killer squads were formed, and they were hiding in 21 mosques and masjids. They had also gone on to hide weapons in mosques, masjids, classrooms, and also in the residences of PFI sympathizers as well. This was the very same Paiser who had gone on to form a list of 14 assassins, out of which 7 of them were given bikes by the prime accused in this particular case, and after which they started tailing 4 prominent Hindu leaders in Dakshina Kannada district, and after which they zeroed in on Praveen Nettaru, and they started going about it in a very meticulous manner, and they also made sure that there were no CCTVs in the region as well. But on the 25th of July, Praveen Nettaru had gone on to install a CCTV, and this particular conversation was accessed by the NIA, where Praveen Nettaru is heard speaking to his friend Charan Raj, stating that he feels that somebody is going to attack him, and he feels that somebody has been tailing him for the past several days as well. And on the 26th at 8:40 p.m. he was murdered outside his poultry shop as well. And this particular hit on Nettaru came from Mustafa Paiser himself, and he was the one who was passing the information from the state PFI leaders to the PFI leaders and block secretaries in Sulya in Dakshina Kannada, where the murder took place in Bellare. Apart from that, now the NIA has gone on to record statements of 2 other people who were on the target of these PFI hit squads, namely Prithviraj and Prashant, who were also BJP Yuva Morcha leaders as well. And they stated that between July 24 to July 26 in 2022, these hit squads had tailed them, and they have gone on to give this particular statement to the NIA, on which the charge sheet was filed as well. And apart from that, now Rhythm, we also get to learn that these killer squads had been training for several years together, and this particular murder conspiracy was hatched at the Juma Masjid in Sulya, the Jamia Masjid in Bellare, and all the assassins gathered on the 25th of July at the KVG grounds in Sulya, where they formed a final sketch for one last time. And after that, at 8:05, they parked their vehicles right about 100 to 150 meters away from Praveen Nettaru's poultry shop and waited for him. They waited till about 8:20 p.m. to 8:25 p.m. on the 26th of July, and they attacked him at 8:40 when he downed the shutters of his shop. And all these chilling details has been revealed in the NIA charge sheet now. And more of now, the NIA charge sheet has also gained access to the PFI's propaganda, which has been taken in from the house of accused Shahid, which also mentioned that all these killers had taken oath in the name of in the name of Islam and in the name of Allah, and all of them have stated that by 2047 they will go on to establish an Islamic State by killing prominent Hindu leaders, not only in Karnataka but elsewhere as well. And they have taken this oath to make sure that they will go about this task
Prajwal, for just a minute, I want to also go across to SP Ved. Prajwal, you've given us very great details, and I'm going to come back to you, get to know more what happened in the charge sheet. I just want to go across to SP Ved, former DGP of Police of Jammu and Kashmir, who's now joining us. Mr. Ved, what I want to ask you, you've seen these terror plots earlier. You've seen how terrorists work. You've been at the very helm of affairs when trying to solve such cases. Very clearly, the PFI's one motive was to create panic with the murders. The PFI is now banned. But how are we to look at such planning, plotting that was being orchestrated and done by them?
See, after the revelation in Patna, if you recall, the plan of PFI of turning India into Islamic, is bringing in India Islamic rule by 2047. And I think this charge sheet also is bringing out the thinking behind PFI activists, how they were operating, and all these elements of PFI, whether it is in Karnataka or in Patna or in other parts of the country, whether it's in Kerala, they are there is brain behind these operatives, because they are operating on some grand plan which has been devised by the thinkers of the PFI and the forces which are behind the PFI, supporting PFI with their funds, with their money, with their material, with their social media campaign from across, from outside the country, and in interrogating them, these cadres, and bringing out the truth from them is a hard task for the interrogators. And I think the NIA has done a good job bringing out their real intentions, what they were out to. That is why they were resorting to these murders. And this actually is to create scare in the majority community, so that the PFI cadres are not questioned whichever area they are operating on. You saw how they have created terror in various parts of Kerala, and that is the model they wanted to replicate in other parts of the country.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Mr. Ved, my next question to you. The PFI joins the ranks of LET, Jaish-e-Mohammed, Simmi, Al-Qaeda and several other groups on the banned list, and the notification came out last year banning them. We've seen how, whether you're absolutely rightly talking about the Patna case in which the charge sheet was filed in Jan only this year. We're seeing this case, we've seen the Delhi riots case and how they were a huge part. The charge sheets in Delhi, in the Delhi courts have also stated a huge part was PFI. We've seen how the government did a crackdown on them last year. I want to get a sense from you, who've been at the helm, like I said, of affairs when it comes to terrorist activities, and you've seen from close how terrorists work, the modus operandi that was applied here, Mr. Ved. Because this time around, they had planned this for many years, and in 3 days after planning the murder, they had gone ahead, brutally killed him. This was only being done to target Hindu leaders. The central government also says the reason for banning them is because they were threatening India's national sovereignty.
That was a move very well needed. I think banning PFI was by the government of India. If you see, look at their model of financing, how thousands of their people in Middle East are asked to send the money to their families, and a part of that money is actually deposited in PFI's account, and that is how they generate huge funds. And the modus operandi which you were talking of, You saw how many RSS leaders were targeted in Kerala, how they were butchered in various parts of Kerala, and that is to create terror in the minds of people who represent Hindutva, whether it is RSS, VHP, and other wings of the Hindu community. So I think this murder was also part of the grand plan what they have implemented in Kerala, and they wanted to replicate in other southern states, and now Karnataka is the target. And the government of India has taken a very right step by banning PFI and seizing all its properties, freezing its accounts, and arresting most of its cadres. And I think that was very well required for the integrity of the country and security of the country.
As I thank former DGP SP Vaid for joining us and giving us more details about the modus operandi of the PFI, I want to go back to for a quick answer to Prajwal. Prajwal, you've given us great details about what's in the chart sheet. It's also important to remember what SP Vaid is talking about, the kind of funds they were collecting. Even earlier when we've spoken, Prajwal, we've spoken about how the money was coming in from the Middle East, how they are trying to target the Hindutva model, as they would say. They're trying to raise funds from India and abroad. They're also responsible, like he rightly pointed out, for several murders in the southern states. I also remember the PFI cadre being accused of chopping the palm of a Kerala college professor in 2010 for including a controversial question in an examination paper. So a larger question to you, Prajwal, the chart sheet has been filed. We've got details of it from you, the modus operandi from you. What can next possibly happen? There are certain people who are missing. How soon do you think they could be captured?
Rhythm, now just drawing our focus back to what Mr. SP Vaid stated, and you were also pointing out the links of the PFI with terror organizations. In page 39 of the NIA charge sheet, which has been filed by the NIA in Praveen Nettaru murder case, it is also pointing out to the fact that PFI had links with terror organizations, and they mainly depended on them for financial funding as well as arms and ammunition training, and also to get arms and ammunition as well. So this is one important statement which has been mentioned by the NIA. And also, if you look at the larger conspiracy here, Rhythm, the funding is also being questioned, because initially on the 22nd of September, when it was, when raids were conducted by the NIA in Karnataka across all the PFI offices, we strongly believe that one of the PFI's treasurers over here by the name of Mohammed Shakif was raided. And from Shakif's residence, it is understood that large volumes of digital evidence was collected, which also pointed out to the financial funding coming in from the Middle East as well, in the form of cryptocurrency, in the form of hard cash, and it was directed not directly to the PFI organizations but through NGOs to make sure that they mislead the agencies. But then the Enforcement Directorate was also called in, and finally they tracked down to the fact that all the money which was coming in was from Middle East, and it was also sent to the personal accounts of PFI leaders as well as cadres and members too, through which these hit squads were formed. 40 hit squads, Rhythm, not 1, 2 or 3, but 40 hit squads across Dakshina Kannada as well as across the entire state of Karnataka to assassinate RSS leaders and Hindu leaders as well. But now the names of 3 leaders has been revealed, but the other leaders list has been kept confidential by the NIA for the security reason of all these leaders. Rhythm, over to you in the studios.
Prajwal, as I ask you another question, I want to tell our viewers that I have never seen a more thorough reading of the chart sheet like Prajwal is putting out. This is something only someone at Republic TV can do, and I must congratulate him because he even knows the page number of a random question that I asked. So Prajwal, I ask you once again, you've given us a lot of contours of the chart sheet against the PFI. We are still looking for more accused. Some of the accused are already in custody. You've given us details about how the Hindutva model was being targeted, Hindu leaders were being targeted. We've seen a crackdown of the PFI across India after they were banned. I want to get a sense of the kind of terror they were trying to create and were unable to, the panic that they were thinking they will survive on.
Rhythm, now mainly looking at this entire charge sheet now, I want to focus back to page number 34 where the sketch of this particular assassination was made by the accused. Now 6 of them are absconding, Rhythm, and 14 of them have already been taken into custody. 3 of them are assassins who assassinated Praveen Nettaru on the words of the prime accused in this, Mustafa Paiser, who's still at large. Then Abdur Mohammad Kodaje Sharif, he's also at large, and Masood as well. Kodaje Mohammad Sharif mainly handled with the logistics. Mustafa Paiser went ahead, plotted this particular murder, conducted recce of it, and Masood was the one who dealt the lethal blow on Praveen Nettaru on his head as well. Because in page number 29, again, Rhythm, we will have to go ahead and focus on the injuries which has been there on the body of Praveen Nettaru. 30 brutal injuries has been reported on his body, and 10 of them on his head alone. And look at the modus operandi here, Rhythm, that these service squads mainly wanted to target the head because the death will be instant, but he will also bleed right in front of full public view. And they wanted to do this in public view because they wanted to incite hatred, fear, panic amongst all the people so that they would not speak against the Islamic State, and they would also put across their prophecy too. And apart from that, there is a 8-point agenda which the NIA has mainly mentioned over here. And in this 8-point agenda, 4 of them mentions about these squads, these service squads, as to what their roles were exactly: assassinating, conspiring, conduct a recce, and also hit the targets when they are most vulnerable as well.
That's right. All right, Prajwal, getting us those details. Thank you for that. We're looking forward to all the people who are a part of the PFI conspiracy and the murder being captured soon by the authorities. Thank you, Prajwal, for giving us those details.